What's up, familia? We are here to discuss Uncanny Spider-Man #1 by Cy Spurrier, and I had to discuss it with my new BFF, Tori from More Mutants.
Hello, familia. I'm so excited to be here.
You said hello, familia. Stop it. I'm going crazy
I have
now.
to. I'm honored to be here.
No, we did a Twitch stream yesterday for X-Men Legends 2, and I have been just so on cloud nine after talking with you and Dan. You guys, your energy is just next level.
Oh, well, so is yours. We had so much fun. I'm so glad that we were able to get you on. Even though we had a myriad of tech issues, we still had a great time.
I know. Oh my gosh. Familia, go to More Mutants on Twitch. See our episode. Find all their content. Where can people find More Mutants?
So on Twitch, we're more_mutants. Also on Instagram, more_mutants. And YouTube as well. We usually upload, especially when we have a guest. So if you don't catch the episode with Dayspring here on Twitch, you can find it on our YouTube soon.
Okay. Well, I'm obsessed with everything you guys do. I love the content you guys produce. So, Familia, go to More Mutants. Define the Pretender. I'm sorry, the Redeemer by More_Mutants. And Tori, yesterday we were talking about Cy Spurrier and how much you've enjoyed Way of X, Legion of X.
Yeah.
So when I was like, well, Uncanny Spider-Man's coming out today, and we're going to talk about it. Can you come on? And here we are to discuss Uncanny Spider-Man.
I'm so excited because, we were chatting last night, and we had so many similar opinions. We were agreeing on everything until we got to Way of X and Legion of X. And then we had some controversial yet brave opinions.
Controversial yet brave. Yeah, listen, I think Cy, as we were talking about, we've had him on the podcast. I think Cy is an exceptionally great writer. There's so much in here that I like in Uncanny Spider-Man, but I did tap out of Way of X, Onslaught Revelations, right. Legion of X. But you have the difference of opinion on that.
I loved it. And I find that I'm in the minority, I think, of people that how people feel about his recent books, his X books. Me and Dan both loved it. And we have one other friend/follower that also really loves all of Cy's stuff. But I see online that it's a lot of people do not like it. So I feel like it's kind of like a niche thing. But I'm a huge fan. I'm also, aside from X-Men, my other big thing is Hellblazer. I know Cy's done some Hellblazer as well. So I'm just always been a really big fan of his writing.
He has done X books in the past. He's obviously tackled Legion during the X-Men Legacy era, and he's done Weapon X as well. He is a phenomenal writer. I think the Krakoan age in general is just really difficult for a lot of writers, and I find myself as I marinate on this issue, the things I don't like, but I can still look at him and be like, well, his writing is good. It's just the situation that they're in doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And we'll get into it because I have so many fields. I have this broken Word document with question marks and all this stuff here. But Tori, before we dive into it, are you a big Nightcrawler fan? Was Nightcrawler on your top 3 that we discussed yesterday?
Yes, Nightcrawler is probably my all-time favorite X-Men character. If I had to pick only one, it would be Nightcrawler. So
even before Chamber?
Nightcrawler. Yeah, even if I could only pick one, it would be Nightcrawler, but Chamber's right up there.
What is it about Nightcrawler that you think makes him such a special character?
Oh my God,
that's my Oprah question. I'm sorry.
So much. First of all, his design,
Tell me.
I think a lot of people that love Nightcrawler, his design is so incredible. Aesthetically, he's such a cool character. You're immediately interested in him when you see him. But then, of course, it's his whole, he looks like a demon, but he's the heart of the X-Men. He's the most human of the mutants. And that's so fascinating. That's always been such a fascinating dichotomy for a character. I love that he has a heart of gold and he's the sweetest character. Also really interested in his crises of faith that he's had over time. I find that super interesting. I'm not a religious person, but I do have a degree in religious studies because I have like a weird fascination with like the cultural impact of like religion. So that's the other reason why I've always been really interested in the character. And he has a circus background, and I'm also a circus artist. So I love Nightcrawler.
If you would have seen at 2 a.m, a plethora of likes coming in on your Instagram account, that was
oh my God, you're so sweet.
I was just like obsessed. No, I loved your energy. So I'm of similar as you, except I'm not a circus performer, but I've always been curious about the role religion plays in society. I love religion and the idea of deity from a historical perspective.
Exactly, yeah.
The idea of Yahweh being the council of gods who eventually got singled out. I love tracing the historical ideologies of God and religion. I think it's so incredibly fascinating. And so when you get a character like Nightcrawler, who exactly what you said, hellish looking, but is a man of faith, has confronted crisis of his faith. I love. I think it's great.
Yeah,
and
we love, we stand.
We love and we stand. Yes, and I think this issue we do see him having a crisis of faith, and that's part of what I do like about this. But I guess we should just dive in.
Let's do it.
Tell me your overall feels on this issue. Was it everything you were expecting? How did you feel? Oh, and wait. Familia, spoiler warning, spoiler warning. All spoilers for Uncanny Spider-Man issue number 1.
So when this book was announced, I was terrified. I think me and a lot of people instantly panicked at seeing like Nightcrawler in a Spider-Man costume. I was like, immediately not happy about it. So I was really nervous like leading up to this book. And then maybe like a month ago, I saw Sai's interview that he did about this and the upcoming X-Men Blue Origins. And reading his interview put me at ease. Like going into the book, I was like, okay, I see what he's doing. And then reading this issue and seeing it, I was pleasantly surprised. I think I'm really biased since I love Nightcrawler and Sai so much. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I really liked it, but I was trepidatious going into it.
Yeah, I rank it above Miss Marvel and Jean Grey. I thought it was, and again, I don't think the writing is necessarily bad. If this had been any other character in any other universe, I would have been like, this is a solid first issue. And it's a pretty straightforward story, by the way. We'll get into the weeds of it, but the general sweep is Nightcrawler is now Spider-Man. He is helping people in Manhattan, and Orchis is aware of him. And they're trying to track him down since he committed in the Krakoan age, especially when he became that demonic form. And he's talking to Spider-Man, how he's having a crisis of faith, and he really wanted to be in New York City. And 2 big surprises in the issue is that there's a homeless person who's been following him around, turns out to be Mystique. Yeah. And the ending is Silver Sable is being deployed to go after him. So it's pretty straightforward. It's not a very complicated first issue.
No, definitely not.
I don't know. I kind of loved seeing him taking on just like normal like street goons who are stealing human organs.
No, of all things.
That's how evil they are. They're stealing human organs. And Nightcrawler kind of comes in, and we find out that he's already been sort of known in circles, that a new Spider-Man's in town, and people are really flocking towards him.
Yeah. No, that is one of the things that I haven't liked so much about all these Fall of X books is like that there's clearly like this big like time jump between everything that happened to Hellfire Gala, and then we just get like thrown into X weeks later or whatever. I don't love that.
Yeah, and that was something they started with Hickman with Hoxpox. It was like X-Men Disassembled ended. And then we just pick up like, what was it, 3-6 months later, and Krakoa is already established. So we don't even see that interim period. So I agree with you. We have no interim period. Nightcrawler is just Spider-Man now.
Just thrown into it.
Yeah.
I thought the opening scene was really fun. Like similar, like I thought some of the lines were really funny, and I liked to see Nightcrawler like quipping Spider-Man style, or attempting to at least. I thought it was fun. And I remember one of the things that Sai had said in the interview was that one of the things that he hadn't gotten to do with Nightcrawler yet that he wanted to do was like some classic swashbuckling
Hmm.
Nightcrawler, like some
Yeah.
fun swashbuckling Nightcrawler. And I feel like we got a little bit of that in this issue, in this opening scene too.
Yeah, and by the way, the second I saw the person coming out of the shadows with the "I love Latverian" hat saying, "Where's my son?" I'm like, "That's Mystique," or "Where's my baby?" I'm like, "That's Mystique. That's
Yeah.
Mystique." So,
Yep.
I'm glad that kind of there was a payoff for that because it was an odd beat in the story. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I really did love about it was that Nightcrawler is trying to be Spider-Man, but there is this because English is not his first language, so he's trying to figure out puns and stuff like that. So he's here like, "Oh, are you having trouble parking? Get it? We're in a park." I heard the character's voice so
Me
much
too.
with that.
You're like, yeah, you're reading it like in his voice. I
Yeah.
love that so much. It was because I think that's the other part about Nightcrawler that's so endearing is kind of his nerdy, goofy like personality. And we didn't get to see a lot of that recently because he's been in such a like dark place in Way of X, Legion of X, all this stuff. So yeah, it was refreshing to see that again.
And I loved it. So him fighting the bad guys and how he kind of took them on, like that for me was a peak. But here comes
Mhm.
my next qualm
Okay.
is okay, or my first qualm. An Orcus Sentinel comes and it's like mutant detected, and there's like a little voice in his head that says, "I'm going to take care of this." And there's a
Mhm.
group of people who come into the park and they're like, "There's no mutie here. And, this is our hero. This is the new Spider-Man. We want him to sign our $20 bill." My my qualm with this as a 20-year-old New Yorker who lived in New York for 20 years, I don't believe that the current climate in somewhere like Manhattan that there wouldn't be people who support mutants, right? That was the
Yeah.
only thing. I'm not saying that there wouldn't be Orcus Sentinels, but I found it kind of weird that all like in this issue, everyone who lives in New York City that we encounter hates mutants. It's just like no mutie
Mhm.
stuff like that. That felt a little odd to me in terms of the world building.
No, I agree with that.
Then, but then he's like, "I'm going to return these human organs." I was surprised by the voice. I didn't know what to think about the voice. So you tell me. Like, did you know
Oh
what that
yeah.
was immediately?
Well, at first I thought maybe Mother Righteous because
Mm.
at first the like accent was not as like clear of like what kind of accent it was. And Mother Righteous has like that was it like an Essex accent or something?
Yeah.
Um and then when you see the little when he's holding the box of organs and the voice is talking to him, it's like a little white face I thought was kind of reminiscent of like her mask. So that was my first thought. But then the more that they talked, I was like, no, it's definitely not Mother Righteous.
Yeah. I didn't know who Mother Righteous would have been although I call her Mother Righteousness in my head. Mother Righteous would have been the logical assumption there. I didn't know what to think. I don't know why I thought like magic or something like
Mm,
that, but which wouldn't make any sense because she's off in Realm of X. But
mm,
I didn't know what to make of it. I thought maybe because I had tapped out of Cy Spurrier's X books that maybe, and I'm not caught up with it yet, maybe that was something that was planted there. But it turns out it's like a bamf, a
yeah, it's like a
ghostly
vamp.
bamf, like a ghostly
Yeah.
little bamf that it's adorable. It reminds me of, oh my gosh, what is that book that with the demons that cling to people? Like you have an outward manifestation of your soul.
Oh, Golden Compass.
Golden Compass. That's what I
Yeah.
sort of like. I kind of was like, I love that so much. Man, I haven't read Golden Compass in like
Oh, yeah. I think I read it
15
in middle
years.
school.
Yeah, it's been, I was an adult when I read it, but yeah, but that's kind of like how I would have described him hovering over.
No, that
But
was very unexpected. When a voice was happening, I was like, what is this? What is happening?
so then we find out that we have a data page that says mutants tricked us. They poisoned us. They walked among us. But thanks to your support, all mutant teleportals have been deactivated. Orcus, keeping the X out of NYC, your friendly neighborhood sentinels. I was just like, I have a hard time conceptualizing that New York would be so anti-mutant, given how
Yeah.
progressive the city is. I can certainly think of other parts of the world where that would be an issue, but or of the United States where it would be an issue. But New York, I was like, I think New York would be this weird haven or bubble. But that's not to absolve it of any Sentinel policing.
No, I agree. Yeah, with everything that's happened, like I can see that there would definitely be people who would absolutely be anti-mutant at this point. But yeah, it is hard to believe that like everyone would be.
I mean, I guess like in fairness, I'm trying to rationalize my own. I what I love about this community, it's speaking with folks and in particular your enthusiasm for the book and for Psy and for Nightcrawler. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm reading too much into it because you know what? You're absolutely right. They're everything that Orcus is tricking the media and all these drugs that were supposed to prolong life and cure mental disease actually turned out to be, false, and it was killing people. So there would be a huge public turn on mutants. In fairness to this situation, I personally don't like it, but I can understand.
I don't like it.
Yeah, but I can understand.
Yeah.
Now why there would be that kind of mutie stuff. The next scene I think is really great if you want to carry us through it.
Oh, when he's talking to Spider-Man.
Oh my
so
God.
Good.
And they're eating street pizza. They're eating dollar slice pizza. Or do they have a pie? Whatever. He's eating pizza.
There's a box. Yeah.
Okay. They're eating New York style pizza, which I love.
I really like is it Lee Garbett?
Yeah.
His art. I really love the way that he's drawing Nightcrawler once we see him without the mask on. I think he looks great.
Oh, I know. He looks so cute.
He's so cute. And yeah, then just eating pizza, having this conversation, and Spider-Man kind of like checking in on Kurt and his emotional state because he's clearly not okay at all. I think my favorite part of it though was when Kurt mentions the astral cutlass because we see him with like his glowing sword, and then Spider-Man's like, I'm sorry, what? The what now?
My only qualm with
explained it.
That would be my only Spider-Man's no stranger to weird convoluted stuff. I would have liked I feel Spider-Man feels a little off to me in the scene. And I don't know what's going on with him. I've read up to the Beyond Corporation, but I haven't read afterward. But I figured I don't know. I would have liked in the scene him also eating pizza with Nightcrawler. And just being like, let me tell you about Ben Reilly. You think that's complicated? Let me tell you about Ben Reilly. Is more what I would have wanted. Spider-Man just seen there from a story perspective, just to have the stamp on Nightcrawler that he has one of Spider-Man's old costumes. How does his tail work? No one knows.
Yeah, that was good too. I'm glad that they pointed that out. It was funny.
But I have a question for you because this is the first thing that came to my mind when people were like, when they're like, this new Spider-Man, he's not a mutant. When the people were gathered around him on the park, is Nightcrawler public facing? Wouldn't people be like, oh wait, that's the X-Man with the devil tail? So clearly,
I did.
Him.
Yeah, no, I thought about that when they showed the page of like the forum, like the fan site, and they were talking about, and so there is a comment in there where someone's like, well, doesn't one of the X-Men have a tail? And I'm like, yeah, wouldn't Nightcrawler be easily recognizable as an X-Men? Like, yeah, no, I had the same thought.
Yeah, I just like that for me, I would have been like, I missed the comment, so I'm glad. Oh, I'm seeing it here now. Yeah, so I'm glad someone said that because that's the first thing that comes to my mind is that of all the X-Men, Nightcrawler would stand out.
He's very distinct.
Yeah, like someone like Emma, for example, can get away with being incognito because she's not as distinct. But Nightcrawler has certain feet and hands and a tail that you would immediately identify. Like, wait a minute. So that was it.
Exactly.
That just made my head cock a little bit. I was just like, But then, so this next scene, I kind of got a little angry on it. We have Vulture, who's working for Orcus, and they're performing experiments on Feral. And they're trying to, I guess what they're trying to do is find out immortality. They're trying to discover mutant resurrection. And Feral gets, I guess this is Warlock, this is Phalanx technology they're using in here, and Feral goes feral, and then Vulture is able to easily slap her down, and yeah. Do you tell me what you thought about this scene in general?
Yeah, this part, I admittedly was confused. I don't keep up with Spider-Man stuff at all. I've read Ultimate Spider-Man and that's pretty much it. Cause I can't keep up with X-Men and Spider-Man. So when Spider-Man Yeah, when Spider-Man characters show up, I'm like, I don't know what they've been doing or how they got here. And then yeah, I was seeing him with the Technarch like technology. I was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know how we got here.
Yeah, and by the way, look, it was kind of hokey when he's like, "Don't call me Vulture, call me Director
Yeah,
Vulture."
that was ridiculous.
I was like, "Oh," but my main qualm here, and I've been saying this for a while now, I don't like seeing the X-Men kind of just not being cool. Like Farrell is being experimented on, she's having a reaction to it, and then Director Vulture is able to easily take her down. Farrell was on X-Force, okay?
Yeah.
She was doing the shit that no one was capable of doing. She wouldn't go down to Vulture, let alone Director Vulture. I'm sorry. That is my qualm there. But we're talking about also that, they're well aware that Nightcrawler is evading them with their technology that Nimron gave him. And they're trying to find a way to, let's do a little outsourcing, shall we, on how to pin him down. It was fine. I don't know what the end game is supposed to be here.
No, I agree. I think Farrell should have at least taken down one of these side people or something. Get a little bit of a fight in there before she gets knocked out. But then the panel where she gets knocked down is so silly too, because it's like Vulture headbutting her. It's like boom. It's so lame.
I mean, justice for Farrell here.
Justice for Farrell.
I can't. I mean, again, it's just I'm tired of the X-Men being shown as wusses or not being they're not strategizing or they're not a good force to be reckoned with. That is just my overall note on what's going on in the Krakoan age. But
yeah, that's fair. Absolutely.
So then we're back in Central Park in the next scene. It's the dawn of a beautiful, beautiful day. And and someone is attacking a jogger, and Nightcrawler intervenes and knocks him out. And the jogger is really grateful to Nightcrawler, which I love this. Everyone has hard eyes for Nightcrawler. She hugs him, and it's a weird beat in the story, by the way. And I'm curious for your thoughts on it. There's a beeping sound, and he looks down at her chest, and he's here this is very distracting. And the jogger's like, huh? But then it's her necklace that's beeping off. And it's because Orcus is selling little devices that detect mutants. And you as a reader are thinking oh, it's detecting Nightcrawler. But no, actually, that person who was doing the mugging is actually Mystique and is wearing the same clothes from the day before, which was that person asking for the baby.
Yeah. Now I'm I guess is there something in the spider suit that's making it so Nightcrawler is not being detected as a mutant? Because that's the second time they're kind of showing that's happening. I will say though, my favorite part of this scene is when Mystique, when she's shapeshifted as the guy and she pulls out the knives and there's a snicked sound of pulling the knives, and he goes, ooh, a classic sound effect, bub. Want another? And then he teleports and there's the bamf. I was like, yes, I live.
I don't know. Again, it was such a weird beat in the story for me. It felt like there was a lot of sexual tension there between the jogger and Nightcrawler, because she's jumping on him and then he's looking down on her, and then they quickly pivoted, and then it was Mystique. So it felt really jarring for me as a reader, and I didn't know what I was supposed to be taking away from these scenes.
The jogger was very over the top, and I immediately was suspicious of the jogger. I was like, oh, is she an Orcus person trying to get close to him? Posing it. That's what I initially thought was happening before we saw it was Mystique. So yeah, I agree that there was something off about the interaction with the jogger.
And I'm happy to see that Nightcrawler is being adored by the public. It's a huge contrast from where he's historically been, and especially now as a mutant. So the fact that now he has a Spider-Man suit, New York loves Spider-Man, that he's getting sort of that love and adoration. God, this is gonna sound so geeky. I believe Andy Cohen said this about Sarah Jessica Parker, that walking around with Sarah Jessica Parker in New York City is like walking around with the Empire State Building. I would imagine the same thing with Spider-Man. Walking around with Spider-Man or being part of the Spider-Man family, you're like a big New York hallmark. So I love that. I love that very much. And I think that's what we're supposed to take away, that he has fame and people are throwing themselves on him. And maybe Nightcrawler's like, maybe this is a time to indulge in happiness. But there's no happiness when your mama is around. If your mama...
No, not when Mystique is here.
And I'm glad to see that. You know, how did you feel about her death at the Hellfire Gala? I know you've talked about it, but for those at home who don't know.
I raged about it on our stream. I was very emotional about it. Like, it had a really profound negative effect on me in the Hellfire Gala. I thought it was a horrible scene in the issue. I thought her going down so many characters in the issue so quickly, so easily, like, was really unsatisfying and frustrating as a fan. And then my biggest problem with it was like the panel of seeing her body on the ground, like bloodied, and then was it Dr. Stasis, I think, like with a big bold, like, ha ha ha, like having this man like laughing over this like broken queer woman's body. And I was just like, that was like gut-wrenching to read for me. I was like, I hated it.
I hated it too so much. And that's why I was kind of like, I cocked my head at it, because it's just, I think in an age where we're trying to tell better stories, I don't know if that was deliberate to show that this man is laughing at this queer woman bloodied there. But I also found it profoundly disrespectful to the character of Mystique, who is a very powerful, shape-shifting queer woman, that she went down so easily. Because one, I don't believe she would have ever fought Destiny on anything. They've been through shit together. If Destiny's saying, Raven, follow Charles, I believe Raven would trust Irene a lot to do that. A. B. I've said this before, what Mystique lacks in power, she makes up with being the world's best assassin. So I don't believe she would be like, ah, and then spin around and fall out a window and then bleed out on a rock. Sorry, no, I don't believe that. That's not how the world's greatest assassin dies.
Absolutely not.
For me, it's disrespectful to the character. She can still fall. She can still fall. You can still have that moment with Stasis laughing at her. But I think Mystique, much like Farrell in this, would have put up a fight. There would have been more weight to that. Sorry, that's my...
I agree 100%. Because it was kind of like her like stumbling and losing balance and like falling out a window, basically. So it's just like so ridiculous for someone like her.
Oh, did you watch Sex and the City?
I have seen some of it.
Okay, the scene where the chick loses her balance on the heels and then she falls out the window. You know what I mean? That's what they did.
It's so silly.
That Mystique would not do that. I would have loved to have seen Mystique turning into different characters, different iterations, shape-shifting, trying to put up a fight. And then lose. But it's fine. She can lose, and Stasis can still laugh at her. And we, the reader, know this is for me, it's the fact that she went down so easily. So to see her here with amnesia, right? Because she hit her head and she bled out and she somehow survived. I'm fine with it because I understand this is a part of the beat that Sai is picking up. But I don't know. It's hard to see Mystique like that. But obviously setting up X-Men Blue Origins, because she's saying my baby, and now we're going to find out the true origin of Nightcrawler.
I'm so intensely curious to see what is going to happen in that issue. I'm like, I get scared, but curious.
I think we're going to have you back on it. On the podcast so we can discuss that, because I agree. Yes. I've posted about it. I love the original. It's not the original, but one of the original ideas that they had for Nightcrawler's birth involving Mystique and Destiny. I think that's so great, but they've gone so far away from it. And you cannot mess with that iconic origin of Mystique holding baby Nightcrawler over the waterfall. I'm sorry, you just can't fuck with that. So if they're going to find a way to have Destiny still be biologically related to Nightcrawler and how that worked, I'm here for it. But do not fuck with baby Nightcrawler being held by Mystique, tossed like a football. Like, I'm sorry, that's iconic.
It's iconic. There's the action figure with the baby Nightcrawler. Like, come on.
My theory is, and I'm curious what your theory is, that what they're going to do is that they're going to respect Claremont's story that he wanted Mystique to shapeshift into a man, impregnate Destiny, but then something's happening with the pregnancy. Azazel comes in and transfers a baby from Irene into Mystique.
Ooh.
And Azazel's like, well, as part of this pact, I'm going to put my stamp on the baby. And that's how he still has ties to Azazel and stuff like that. That is
I like
my
that.
theory.
Yeah.
Huh?
Cause I like that. Cause that's what I was trying to, I was like, Azazel has to be involved still somehow. Cause Nightcrawler looks so much like him. Like how else would you explain that? So yeah, no, I like that. I like, cause that combines everything. As long as they make it to make sense somehow. Yeah. But no, I'm hoping for that too.
We'll see where it goes, but
Yeah.
I think reading this issue. Oh, and then the issue ends with Orcus and they're deploying Silver Sable
Right.
to go after Nightcrawler, and that's a big reveal. And by the way, so I trust Sai to end that thought because I think he does have a good grasp on the characterization of Nightcrawler, just like how Louis Simonson has a good grasp on Jean. You can't argue that they're writing the character in its purest form.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah. I've seen a lot of discourse about like Sai's handling of Nightcrawler the last couple of years, and some people again just really don't like it and think he doesn't have a good grasp on the character. But I think he really understands Nightcrawler, and I think he really wants to explore a lot of those things deeply that we love about Nightcrawler, and I think that's why I like it so much. And again, like reading his interview and his thoughts about Nightcrawler as a character really put me at ease with like, no, I feel like he loves the character and understands the character. So we'll see what happens.
I think you can always tell when a creator loves a character, and it's clear that Sai really loves Kurt. And this issue, again, for the qualms we have stated, it's clear that he loves this character. And there's in trying to integrate in the Spider-Man universe. I mean, we got Vulture and Silver Sable.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, oh, I'm sorry, Director Vulture.
Yeah, excuse you. It's Director Vulture now.
That's lame, but at least we got Silver Sable out of it. And I love Silver Sable quite a bit.
Ooh, nice.
Okay,
yeah,
so
that's going to be interesting.
How do you rate this issue? Tell me, against all other Nightcrawler stories, everything,
Oh,
how do you feel about this chapter for the character?
Oh, that's so hard to say because there's so much I don't like about the Fall of X like era. So it's like I know that there's situations here that I'm not happy with, but I think like in terms of all the Fall of X books I've read so far, this is one of my favorites.
Agreed.
I liked that it had funny light moments. I like that we got some great Nightcrawler stuff. And I like that there was some emotional moments, and we do see that like mentally he's really struggling with all the stuff that he's been through and everything that's happened since the Hellfire Gala. I'm glad that we touched on that and we didn't gloss over any of that. So I don't know. I think for a Fall of X book, it's like a 4 out of 5 for me.
I agree. 100%. 100% agree with you. It is a 4 out of 5. Miss Marvel, I was so excited for, and I was just like, oh, I don't think this is the best thing ever. Yeah. But and Jean Grey, it's too much of a what if, and the other titles I just haven't been jiving with. I can see myself picking up issue 2 for this. I can see myself picking up issue 2, and I'm excited for
sure.
it. What is your favorite Nightcrawler story out there?
Oh my gosh!
If you had to, like, someone who's here, like,
that's so hard.
Give me a Nightcrawler story to read.
I mean, I liked any of his like little solo miniseries. I liked all of those. I think there's 2 of them. I have the trades for just like the Nightcrawler little miniseries. I love those. I also love anytime we get to see his friendship with Logan. I love that. So like I think Divided We Stand, when he had like a little side adventure with Logan and Peter Colossus. Love stuff like that.
What did you think of his death in Second Coming?
That was so devastating for me. I can so vividly remember reading that. I was at work in the comic shop reading it like as soon as I pulled it out of the box, and just like sitting at work and just being devastated that he was dead. And then his whole resurrection was like a mess.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know. I don't know if I could adequately ever explain his resurrection. I know we saw him in heaven. But it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense that in
No,
House of X, he's here like, I don't know if there's something on the other side. So I'm like, well, does he not remember heaven? Like,
it doesn't make any sense.
and then during his death, he came to Wolverine, him and Jean, but Jean was an apparition of his mind, but he was a real Nightcrawler. It's a whole messy
It
era.
was a mess.
But
Yeah.
I will say what I loved about his death in Second Coming is that Hope being the Messiah, and he was
Yeah.
willing to give his life for his faith. And I thought that was very beautiful. And so I understand why he had to die. But that scene of Bastion,
Yeah, the arm.
oh,
Brutal.
so brutal.
No, I agree. Like, if Nightcrawler had to die, like that was like a really appropriate way for
Yeah.
his character, like a fulfilling way, I guess you could say. But yeah, just brutal.
Oh gosh, but yeah, this issue I thought was really, really good. So
Yeah, I
You know-
overall really liked it.
I liked it. 4 out of 5 is perfect for me. I'm definitely coming back for issue 2. I'm not even going to wait for it to be on the Marvel Unlimited app. I'll buy the next one. I think this one and Dark X-Men are my 2 favorite books so far in the Fall of X.
Yeah.
Everything else I've just been like, I'll just wait until it's dumped on Unlimited.
Yeah, everything else has been kind of mediocre.
Tori, where can folks at home hit you up? What do you have coming down the pipeline with more mutants? I'm obsessed. I'm so obsessed. I'm so glad we got to talk today.
I know. I'm so glad that we've connected. Dan and I also obsessed with you and everything that you do. But yeah, so like I said, you can find us on Twitch and Instagram and YouTube, more_mutants. Feel free to come interact with us and hit us up. We love chatting with fans. We love having people on our Twitch to play games and talk about X-Men. We play tons of games over there, mostly Marvel games, obviously. But we do comic recaps. We chat with guests. We do all kinds of fun stuff. Right now, we're playing through Midnight Suns and X-Men Legends 2. So, yeah, find us on Twitch.
All right, familia, go. Stop what you're doing and just go find them on Twitch, hit them up on Instagram, and we will be back to cover more Fall of X, and Tori's going to be back like every week going forward because I'm obsessed with her.
Thank you so much. You're the best.